Welcome back, I'm Harrison. Today we are doing another little fun flower illustration. I'm bringing this little line arty flower piece, art piece to life, straight in front of your eyes, right from my desk. I'm gonna have a question for you about titling these pieces. You gotta let me know what you like, but that's here in a second. But for now, let me tell you about this piece. It looks good in my opinion. One of my favorites. The lines complement the flower really well, and this was definitely one of those pieces where I decided to add that little fun natural symbolism that I add sometimes, and but it was more sophisticated here. It's a little bit more subtle. It's not as much in your face. I think the flower is going off in a lot of different directions, which means the line art and the little natural symbolisms can be a little bit more toned down. So I hope you like it. Let's hop into the video. Okay, getting started with my color here. We're roughing it out, but you gotta tell me, do you like me titling these illustrations off of the species that I'm illustrating, or something more left field? And if you like left field, tell me what your tastes are. Do you want something very comedic, very whimsical, very fantastical? Let me know in the comments below. But hopping into the illustration, we are laying out these pods, and as long as they're roughly laid out but relatively close to one another, then I think that's good enough. I'm gonna go back in and adjust the proportions of some of these pods in the next stage into the polishing of what we're seeing now. But on another note, it was really fun to do these leaves because both the bottom leaf and the two top leaves were pretty flat. They weren't curving around or folding on one another. They're just going in different directions and being flat as they did that. So it made it really easy for me to illustrate, and at the moment I'm just blocking in some fun little color. That's all I can say about the roughing out stage. So let's go ahead and just enjoy the music and enjoy the painting. Okay, we have our rough flower figured out. It's grungy, it's punk rock, it's Seattle, but it needs to become refined. It needs to be very polished, and that's gonna happen here in a second. We're about to hop into this mid-tier level of polish, but for now, it is structurally where it needs to be, for the most part. So without getting too much into it, let's go ahead and hop back in to the time-lapse video. Okay, getting into the stage of believability. I call it the stage of believability because it's that mid-tier level of polish where we're not putting fancy little minute touches on things quite yet. We're just trying to get the rough draft to look a little bit more structurally believable. So we're in that stage right now, and I am adding these dark lines to these leaves and creating some form with some different value and tone into these little pods and accent pods. But really just doing the job. Fun fact for you here, I usually do these audio recordings in the evenings, and so I'm always worried about like making too much noise because I share a wall with my neighbors, and I always have to like creepily like walk down the street to see like, oh, are they home or not home? And at the moment they're not home, so I get to be as loud as I want. But maybe that's too much information, maybe it's not enough. But regardless, here we are refining the structure of this little flower. Also, tell me what you think it should be called. A Kevin, is it a Sarah, is it a Samantha, is it a Samsonite? You tell me in the comments below. But let's get back into the illustration and relax and keep it going. We've done our mid-tier level of polish now, and it's looking like a proper flower. It's rising up through the middle class into the high society, but it's not quite there yet. You know, part of me likes it when they stay grungy and they stay true to themselves, but unfortunately it's going to sell out a little bit here, and it's going to be a little bit more refined. And if you can live with it, I can live with it. But for now, what we have here is a nice looking flower with a little bit of detail, but we're about to add just that extra bit of detail to get it from 70% to 100. So let's go ahead and hop back into the time-lapse video. Okay, so we are officially done with the mid-tier level of polish, and we are moving on to the final tier of polish, where I am not so much using my my brush or my pencil strokes or my eraser tool to increase the likelihood of this thing looking believable, as much as I am bridging the gaps and making where one piece meets the next piece a little bit more smooth, and also adding in some nice little detail lines that from a distance you don't necessarily see, but you feel it, you know what I mean? You feel it. So that's what I'm doing right now, and really just being nitpicky. At this point, it's kind of nice to relax and know that the structure is where it needs to be. All the heavy lifting is done, and now it is just doing some polishing, drinking a mimosa a little bit. I'm not drinking a mimosa. Why did I say that? Anyways, if you're drinking a mimosa, welcome to the illustration. But we are doing this final level of polishing before we move on to the fancy lines. And maybe you could make a case that this level of detail isn't necessary when we are about to cover it up with lines, but I would say to you, you're probably right, but you know, it looks good. So we are doing it. But regardless, let's just keep enjoying this illustration come to life. We have our polished flower. It has made it, it has succeeded, it is now rised above the others, and we have it fully polished, ready for some line art. And that's exactly what we're about to do here in a second. And this piece, as I've mentioned already, I think, is going in a couple of different directions with the flower illustration, so it made for a nice little subtle line art treatment. And I did end up adding the natural looking symbolism to this piece, which I lean towards the more subtle side. We're looking for a nice refined illustration here. So sometimes I do the symbolism big, sometimes I do it small. Here, I felt just a little accent of symbolism was what the piece needed, and I hope you like it. Okay, we're at everybody's favorite part in the video. When I say everybody, I mean me. When I mean me, I mean maybe you. Either way, we are working out these lines. We are figuring it out, and it is really a one-shot when it comes to these lines. If they don't work or look good, then I erase them and start over, and it's okay that we do that because they're so quick to make, and it's kind of almost fun to get it wrong just so you can see me play a little bit more. So regardless, it didn't take long to get to something I did like, and which we're seeing here, and I'm erasing bits and pieces of it because I wanted to see which part of the flower looked good to push the lines back against. And those pods really looked great with them moving forward and the lines hiding behind them. So I'm really glad I did the extra level of detail in the end of the illustration of the flower. But now we're working on this fun little natural font. As I've explained before, this helps bridge the lines with the illustration of the flower together, and overall I think it just looks good. So enjoy. Okay, that's it. That's the end of the video. If you want to stick around for more, I'm sorry, I don't have more. I don't have more to offer. I've finished an illustration. What more do you want from me? But regardless, there'll be more illustrations and more videos coming. I promise. I promise. I'm pretty happy with the way this piece looks, and I hope you are too. So thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.